breathing. So I actually don't love having this conversation with a bunch of instrumentalists, diaphragm instrumentalists, because so we have this baroreceptor reflex that I was telling you about, the when you outrun a lion or whatever it is. Or the thing is that most of us don't like finish a paper and like, done. It's like finish a paper, now I need to go practice. Okay, now I need to. And so we're never letting our brain be like, mission accomplished. It's always like stressed, like lion, bear, lion. So you're always being bathed with all these stress hormones, and they're hard on our bodies. And they deplete our resources quickly. So breathe. And it's diaphragmatic breathing, which, like I said, I hate talking to diaphragmatic instrument players because I am one. And we tend to have really complicated relationships with diaphragmatic breathing. There's a little adage in mental health that says the neurons that fire together wire together. So if every time you sit down to practice, you're feeling tense and like you can feel your shoulders kind of pop up, like you can't even see, but I'm holding a bassoon with this hand. Like my hand still does the bassoon hold. Like I've spent enough hours, I still have that muscle memory even a decade later. But if every time you sit down to practice, and then now you're going to be doing diaphragmatic breathing because that's your choice. That's what you have to do. You're not going to get any sound out. Or not at least very sustained sound. It doesn't take very long for your brain to be like, oh, when I breathe this way, I'm supposed to be really stressed out. It's important that you try to recapture. And so with the diaphragmatic breathing, and I would hope that each of you would practice this in the next week or so, you can actually rewire. It doesn't take very long. Our brains, like I said, we're easily trained, easily tricked to approach breathing when you're nowhere near the bassoon. And a good cue that I use is if you're waiting, practice about a minute each time you notice you're waiting. Maybe you're waiting for class to start. Maybe you're waiting for computer to load. Maybe you're waiting for me to stop talking. Maybe you're waiting for something else. We wait a lot. And so if you can use 1 minute, which is really only going to be probably about 4 breath cycles, breathing in, breathing out, if you're doing it nice and slow, that is going to help you kind of reset that, and also tells your brain like, hey, mission accomplished, good job, we outran that lion. The trick when you're breathing slow, okay, first off, I want to be very, very clear that I'm not saying, just take a breath, it's not that big of a deal. I think in the history of mankind, no one has ever actually calmed down by being told to calm down and take a breath. Yet, like, we pop that information out to each other all the time. Let's just calm down, no big deal, take a breath. But actually, like, let's take a breath and then let's know if that helps us calm down. When you're doing it, many people try to do it like way too fast. Like it's a competitive sport. It's not, it's actually really slow. If you've ever felt lightheaded, and if you ever had a panic attack, you've probably felt lightheaded. Most people kind of get that experience. It's opposite. The type of breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, is opposite of panic breathing. So in this moment when all this happens, your breathing changes. It goes from being long and low to short and like shallow. So it's, your ribs are super involved in stress breathing. And your ribs shouldn't be involved at all when you're doing the diaphragmatic breathing. Or, I mean, your ribs you're still connected to your body. They're going to move a little bit, but not really. It's coming, I imagine that there's a balloon that's that starts in my nose, and the tube kind of goes the whole way down, bypasses my whole body up here, my whole chest. And then the balloon just expands and contracts in my belly. And it's slow. If you get lightheaded, that means you actually have too much oxygen in your brain. So it's not a bad thing. It's uncomfortable. It's not going to hurt you though. And it just means too much. It just means you're breathing out too fast. You need to slow it down. So I'm going to show you. It's super fun to watch someone breathe. So please do it with me. We're going to breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth. So everyone, please go ahead. If your legs are crossed, uncross them. If you're standing up, perfect. And then put one hand on your belly and put your other hand on your chest. And I want you, in that way, you're going to be able to track. If your chest is moving, then just go slower. Probably all of you know how to diaphragmatic breathe, but maybe you don't know how to do it without a bassoon crossing your body. So go ahead. We're going to breathe in. Okay, actually, exhale to get the lungs empty, and then breathe in. Reach the top, hold it for a second, and oh, that was way too fast for me. Do it again, breathe in again. And this time as you breathe out, let yourself kind of audibly sigh. Come in again. And sigh. And stop. Go ahead and you have to sit back down. So we did that. That was about 25 seconds. But that's the idea. Doing it when you don't have a bassoon in your hand. And then when you do pick up your bassoon to actually play, just notice like, oh, do I feel kind of tense? Do my shoulders? I used to always get in trouble because my shoulder would go up and my arm would pop out because I practiced like this. Like it was so tense all the time. So that my teacher would be like, put your elbows down. Like, oh, that's right. And then that would kind of force some space in between your ears and my shoulder. But just notice when you go to pick it up.